All right, let's dive deep today into something that's, well, it's kind of a paradox, isn't it?
It really is. We're talking about the global music
Yeah, an
business.
industry that seems to be booming and also kind of structurally changing right under its own feet. It's fascinating.
It is. It's a study in, I guess, creative resilience meeting some serious economic volatility. I mean, on paper, things look good.
Right?
The global industry is growing, beating key numbers from 2020. Pop is still the biggest genre worldwide, no surprise there.
Okay.
And maybe surprisingly, full-time jobs in the industry are actually up slightly, about 3% from 2016, around 14,500 people.
So, yeah, those numbers, they paint this picture of, like, expansion.
Mm-hmm.
But then you dig into the sources, and there's this immediate contradiction. While the digital side, streaming and all that was soaring,
Right.
the traditional engine, concerts, live music, it got absolutely hammered. Billions lost during the pandemic era.
Devastated, yeah.
So our sources show this huge digital growth happening right alongside this, like, collapse or at least major stress
Mm-hmm.
in the live economy.
And that paradox, that tension, that's really the heart of this deep dive, isn't it?
Yeah.
Our mission really is to unpack these shifts. They're unprecedented. We need to look at everything. From the boardrooms, where there's this massive leadership shakeup happening,
Okay.
all the way down to the psychology, the behavioral science that keeps you loyal to Spotify or Apple
Oh, no.
Music.
Mhm.
And then there's the big one looming, AI, specifically AI voice cloning and the sort of creative and legal chaos it's kicking up.
Okay, let's definitely unpack all of that. Where should we start? Maybe right at the top. Like, who's actually running this multi-billion-dollar cultural engine?
Good place to start, because the data reveals this.
Yeah.
Well, frankly, it's a shocking disconnect.
How so?
A demographic disconnect between the artists, the people actually driving the culture, and the executives managing the business side, managing the profits.
Okay, lay it out for us.
Well, the LA Times did a major investigation. They looked at the top execs, chairs, CEOs, presidents at 70 of the biggest music companies. Labels, publishers, promoters, the whole lot.
70 companies, okay.
And the findings. Leadership is overwhelmingly white and male.
How overwhelming.
86% white, 86% male.
86%. Wow.
Mhm.
And that number just hangs there until you think about who's actually, topping the charts.
Exactly. That's where the absurdity hits you. The sources are clear. The top airplay charts, the big streaming charts, they are dominated by Black artists, Latin artists, female artists.
Right.
So you have this business profiting enormously from creativity driven largely by women and people of color,
Uh-huh.
yet those very groups are almost entirely missing from the top decision-making jobs.
It's not just a feeling. There are hard numbers on this underrepresentation.
Oh, yeah, specific numbers.
Yeah.
Across those 70 companies, the report found only 3 Black executives in those top roles.
That's three.
3.
Yeah.
And just 2 women of color in total.
Out of 70 companies, top leadership.
Exactly. And if you zoom in on just the live music side, the big promoters running the tours we'll talk about later, it's even worse.
How bad?
Only 12.5% executives of color overall in those top spots, and 0 Black executives identified at that senior level. 0.
That kind of imbalance,
Yeah.
it feels unsustainable. It must create pressure, right?
Absolutely. And it did. It created this moment of, well, profound necessity for change. We saw the industry rally. Remember Blackout Tuesday?
Yeah, I do. That was launched by 2 Black female executives, right? Brianna Agumang and Jamila Thomas.
That's right. And it wasn't just, a symbolic pause. It was a real demand for accountability.
Tell us more about that impact.
Well, Blackout Tuesday was this one-day stop. Business as usual halted. It was launched in solidarity, really, to publicly challenge an industry that historically made huge profits from Black art, while systematically keeping Black voices out of positions of real power.
And did it work? Did it create real pressure?
The pressure generated by Agumang and Thomas, it was significant. A lot of major companies suddenly announced task forces, they committed money to racial justice groups, pledged internal audits.
Okay.
But the real lasting impact wasn't just that one day of silence. It was the ongoing pressure it created, the mandate to really look hard at hiring, at promotion, at where the money flows.
So that context, that push for change, and the existing lack of diversity, it feeds right into what's happening now in the executive suites, this great executive shakeup of 2025.
Exactly. It's all connected. And yeah, beyond the diversity issues, the whole industry leadership is just churning right now.
Is this just music or part of a bigger trend?
It's bigger, but music's definitely feeling it. The sources show a macroeconomic thing happening. U.S. companies overall are seeing record numbers of CEO exits.
Really?
Yeah, something like 1,358 departures tracked in 2025 so far. That's the highest since they started tracking back in 2002.
Wow. Why? What's driving that?
It's a mix. Relentless economic pressure for sure. The need to adapt quickly, especially with AI coming on strong and all these structural shifts, and just the sheer difficulty maybe of managing these older legacy business models in a world that's now totally dominated by streaming.
And a prime example in music is the recent exit of Sylvia Rhone from Epic Records. That felt like a big deal.
Oh, huge. Sylvia Rhone's exit is really significant on multiple levels.
Why her specifically?
She's an absolute giant in the industry, one of the very first Black women executives at a major label. Way back in 1994, she broke massive barriers, became the first Black woman chairwoman and CEO of a major, Elektra.
Incredible history.
Totally. And crucially, when she stepped down from Epic recently, she left behind one of the most diverse leadership teams in the whole business. Her staff was reportedly 57% diverse.
57%.
Okay.
That's actually quite high for the industry, based on the earlier numbers.
Exactly. So her departure signals that even these really established, successful leaders, especially those who are actively championing diversity, even they are part of this massive wave of change hitting the major labels.
So, okay, the old guard is shifting. There's this big shakeup. How are the big three labels, Universal, Sony, Warner, how are they trying to position themselves to handle this, volatile streaming-first future? Seems like they're not all doing the same thing.
Not at all. It's fascinating, actually. They seem to have three pretty distinct, almost experimental strategies or playbooks.
Right, break them down for us. Let's start with Universal.
UMG.
Okay, Universal. Under Sir Grange, their focus seems to be on speed, scale, and thinking long-term. Consolidation is key for them.
Consolidation, how so?
They're strategically streamlining management across their frontline labels, basically concentrating power a bit more. The idea is to allow for quicker decisions, especially around licensing and acquisitions.
And how does that help specifically with the streaming future? What's the logic there? Well, Grange seems to understand that in this streaming world, where revenue is more predictable, kind of long tail.
Right, from the catalog.
Exactly. The business advantage comes from having the biggest possible catalog, managing it super efficiently, and being really nimble on licensing. UMG wants to be the ultimate scale player, control the widest slice of global music and publishing rights for the next decade or more.
Okay, scale and speed at Universal. What about Sony Music? They often seem a bit quieter, maybe less affected by the day-to-day chaos.
That's a good way to put it. Sony's approach under Rob Stringer definitely benefits from not having that intense short-term quarterly pressure. They don't have to report standalone music results like UMG or Warner do.
Ah, okay, so less immediate investor scrutiny.
Right. And that stability lets them be really aggressive when it comes to buying things without worrying so much about immediate investor reaction.
Aggressively acquisitive.
Hugely. Their strategy is all about expansion. Sources say they've made over 60 acquisitions and investments in the past year alone, worth over $2.5 billion.
60 deals. Wow, what are they buying? And how are they integrating it all? I see the Orchard mentioned a lot with Sony.
Yeah, the Orchard is absolutely key to their global expansion strategy.
What is the Orchard exactly? Is it just distribution?
It's way more than just traditional distribution now. It's this digital distribution and artist services powerhouse. So Sony buys up companies, often in emerging markets, and then uses the Orchard's infrastructure to plug them in. It gives Sony deep market penetration, especially in places like Latin America, Asia. They can handle everything from digital rights to physical distribution for tons of smaller labels, independent artists. It's their pipeline.
A pipeline for future global hits and, crucially, more catalog to feed the streaming machine.
Precisely. Future hits and future catalog.
Okay, that's Universal and Sony. What about the third major, Warner Music Group? Under Robert Kinkle, their approach sounds, well, maybe the most disruptive. Lots of talk about efficiency, even austerity.
Yeah, Kinkle's core message has been relentless transformation. And for Warner, that has meant, pretty starkly, focusing on efficiency through cost-cutting.
How much cutting?
They've deliberately gone through 4 rounds of layoffs since 2023, eliminated more than 2,000 jobs across the company.
2,000 jobs. That's significant. What's the stated goal there?
They estimate this restructuring saves them a massive $560 million a year in operating costs.
Okay, $500 million in savings.
Yeah.
But where does that money go? And isn't cutting that much talent risky? It feels like a tough narrative, cutting people to invest in essentially old songs.
It is a tough narrative, but the strategic bet Warner is making is crystal clear. They're weighing the risks and they're betting heavily on catalog.
So the long-term predictable streaming money from catalog.
Exactly. They see that as safer, more scalable, and requiring less day-to-day operational costs, fewer staff needed for A&R marketing, etc., compared to the risk of developing new artists. They explicitly want to be the destination of choice for preeminent catalogs. And they're backing it up with huge deals, like buying the Red Hot Chili Peppers catalog for reportedly over $300 million.
$300 million plus for one catalog.
Yeah. So it's a very clear, maybe even brutal pivot for Warner / operational costs, and pour every penny saved into buying these proven appreciating assets, the catalogs.
That pivot away from the risk of developing new artists towards the guaranteed long-term income, that really sums up the new music economy, doesn't it?
It perfectly illustrates the core thesis. And the engine driving all that catalog value, the reason those deals make sense is, of course, streaming.
Right. Let's talk streaming numbers, because they are just staggering.
They really are. The shift to digital dominance is, it's complete. Streaming now makes up a massive 80% of the entire music industry's revenue.
80%.
Globally, streaming revenue hit $18.9 billion back in 2020. Just think, that's up from only about $1 billion in 2012. It's explosive growth.
And it's not just ads, right? Paid subscriptions are the real engine here.
Absolutely key. Paid subscriptions are the massive driver. Apple Music alone, for instance, already had 56 million paying subscribers, according to the sources.
And globally, how many people are paying for music subscriptions now?
We're well over 400 million paying users worldwide. The latest figure is around 443 million people paying for audio subscriptions.
443 million? That's a huge market. And Spotify is still the biggest player.
Still the king, yeah, in terms of overall scale. Spotify has over 350 million total users, and about 150 million of those are paying subscribers globally.
Okay, but when you have that much market concentration, with a few giant platforms controlling access for hundreds of millions of users,
Yeah.
that's bound to attract attention from regulators, right?
Oh, definitely. And it is. The battle for fair play, for transparency, it's really heating up. We're seeing regulators around the world starting to ask serious questions.
Like what? What are they worried about?
Primarily, whether these huge platforms are fundamentally fair to smaller artists and independent labels. Are the algorithms biased? Do the payment structures unfairly benefit the major labels and their superstar acts?
And is anyone actually investigating this formally?
Yes. The main example we have is in the UK. Britain's Competition and Markets Authority, the CMA. They're actively looking into this.
What are they examining specifically?
Whether the streaming platforms, through their deals or their algorithms, might be favoring the big labels and the big stars. The concern is that this could reduce competition, reduce choice for you, the music lover. Especially since, in the UK, 80% of people use streaming as their main way to listen to music.
So the CMA is digging into the algorithms, the payout models, trying to see if the playing field is level.
Exactly. Making sure the rules work for everyone, not just the biggest players who have the most leverage. It's a crucial inquiry for the future of discovering new music.
Absolutely. Okay, so that's the regulatory side. But let's shift gears to something, well, unexpected. That seems to lock in our loyalty as users. We found this fascinating psychological study about why we stick with our chosen streaming service. It mentioned something called QSE.
Ah, yes. QSE. Quality of service experience.
Okay, quality of service experience. What does that actually mean, and why is this academic idea so important for understanding why millions of us keep paying that monthly fee?
It's really interesting. The research looked at the specific things about using a service that make you feel satisfied. And that satisfaction, in turn, is what drives your long-term loyalty, your willingness to keep subscribing.
And they identified specific dimensions of this QSE.
They did. They found 3 key dimensions that really feed into user satisfaction.
All right, what are they?
First is hedonics.
Yeah.
Simple enough, this is just the pleasure you get from using the service. Is the app fun? Does it look good? Does it feel effortless and enjoyable to use?
Okay, the fun factor. Makes sense.
Second is peace of mind. This is all about reliability and trust. Does the service just work? No annoying buffering, songs play instantly, your playlists are safe, your library is always there when you want it, that feeling of security.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to needing that peace of mind, especially if I'm trying to quickly play something between tasks. The last thing I want is the music app being another source of friction.
Exactly. It's about reducing friction. And the third dimension is involvement. This is about how much the platform encourages you to engage more deeply. Think personalized recommendations, cool customization options, maybe sharing features like collaborative playlists, things that make you feel connected.
So, hedonics, peace of mind, involvement. If a platform does those three things well.
The study suggests it creates this deep well of satisfaction, which then translates into loyalty. You stick with the service.
Okay, that seems pretty logical. But you mentioned something unexpected.
Yes, this is where it gets really interesting. The study looked at how time pressure affects this whole equation, specifically pressure from work.
Time pressure. Intuitively, you'd think, if you're stressed and have no time, you'd be less likely to feel loyal to a subscription service.
Right.
Maybe you'd cancel it because you're not using it enough.
That's what you'd assume. But the study found the complete opposite.
Really?
It's what they call the time pressure paradox. Time pressure, especially from work, actually acts as a positive moderator. It significantly increases the strength of the relationship between QSE and satisfaction, and between satisfaction and loyalty.
Wait, so being stressed makes you more loyal. Walk me through the logic there. That sounds backwards.
Okay, think about it. If you are super busy, stressed for time, what do you value most?
Efficiency,
Hmm.
simplicity, things just working without hassle.
Exactly. So the convenience, the ease of use, that peace of mind aspect of your streaming service, the fact that it's instantly available anytime and everywhere, and just works that becomes exponentially more valuable to you when you're under pressure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
it's saving you mental energy. It's one less thing to worry about or fiddle with.
Precisely. You're more willing to pay for that seamless, convenient experience because your time and your cognitive load are maxed out. The service shifts from being a nice-to-have luxury to being almost a necessary utility that helps you cope with the stress.
So the better the service fits into your hectic life, the more the hustle actually reinforces your need to keep paying for it. That's fascinating.
Isn't it? And the study found one more thing. When they looked at the single strongest factor predicting whether someone intends to keep using a paid service.
Yeah. What was it? Price? The fun factor.
Yep. It was habit.
Habit.
Yeah. Just the act of using the service without really thinking about it, that sheer convenience built on top of good QSE, especially peace of mind, becomes ingrained. That habitual, effortless access is what truly locks in the long-term paying subscriber.
Habit beats price sensitivity in the long run. Wow. That's a huge insight for any subscription business, not just music.
Absolutely massive.
But okay, even with these hundreds of millions paying subscribers building these habits, the sources still say YouTube dominates overall usage.
It does. It's an important distinction. While those 443 million paying subscribers are generating most of the direct revenue for labels, YouTube still leads by a huge margin in just total music listening. 2 billion active listeners globally using YouTube for music.
2 billion. So most music consumption globally is still happening on platforms that are free or ad-supported.
Largely, yes. It tells you that while paid subscriptions are the financial engine for the industry, the actual cultural engagement with music for the majority of people worldwide still happens heavily on video streaming platforms.
And we can't talk about how people get music without mentioning piracy. Did that still exist much? With streaming being so cheap and easy.
It definitely persists. It's less prevalent than it was, obviously, but it's still a factor.
Why are people still doing it?
The data we saw points to ownership and affordability. About 37% of people who still pirate music say they do it because they want to actually own the songs, maybe keep local files, and they feel they can't afford to buy everything they want.
So even with cheap streaming, that desire for ownership, for a personal library you control, still drives some piracy.
Yeah, convenience drives loyalty for many, but affordability and that feeling of ownership still motivate a significant chunk of unauthorized downloading or sharing globally.
Okay, let's shift focus now from the digital world back to the physical one, live music. If streaming is the cash cow for the catalog,
Then touring is, or at least was, the lifeblood for most working artists. It's often their main source of income.
right. But the sources we looked at paint a picture of the live scene becoming increasingly polarized. It sounds like a tale of two worlds. The superstars are doing better than ever, but everyone else is struggling.
This is a very accurate summary. We're seeing what the sources call a severe thinning of the middle ground, especially in 2025, post-pandemic.
Thinning middle ground, what does that look like?
Well, overall, ticket sales in North America have kind of flattened out or even dipped in some key categories below the absolute superstar level.
Hmm.
Arena tours for mid-level artists, bands that could comfortably fill those places 5 years ago, they're scaling back, playing smaller venues or fewer dates. And shows in smaller clubs are apparently struggling too, sometimes getting ghosted, really low turnout.
And we keep hearing about tours being postponed or canceled,
Mhm.
often with vague reasons like logistical issues.
Yeah, that's become the standard PR line.
But the sources are saying that's mostly just code for it.
Low ticket sales.
Okay.
Almost always. The reality is the costs of putting on a tour have just exploded. Fuel, crew wages, insurance, hotels, everything is way more expensive.
Right.
So if you're an artist who isn't a guaranteed sellout, the profit margins just aren't there anymore. Or worse, the tour would actually lose money. So indie bands, pop acts without massive viral heat, developing artists, they're often forced to cancel legs, downsize venues, or just scrap the whole thing because the math doesn't work.
But just saying logistical issues,
Yeah.
doesn't that erode trust with fans?
Hmm.
Especially when they're already dealing with crazy high ticket prices, dynamic pricing, all those fees. Are the sources talking about fan alienation?
Oh, absolutely. Fan distrust is a huge part of this crisis in the middle market. The cost is a major barrier. Sources talk about sticker shock.
Sticker shock, yeah, I feel that.
Right. You look at tickets, and with the dynamic pricing algorithms jacking up the price for popular seats, plus all those non-negotiable service fees tacked on at the end.
Oh, the fees.
Exactly. A single concert ticket can feel like a major financial decision now. So for people who are more cautious with spending, like Gen Z, younger millennials, they're forced to prioritize ruthlessly. They might choose to splurge on one huge Taylor Swift or Beyoncé show.
Instead of going to see 3 or 4 smaller or mid-level bands they also like.
Precisely. The mid-level gets squeezed out by the budget choices forced by high prices.
And there was also that period right after lockdowns lifted, the revenge concert boom. Did that have lasting effects?
It did, but maybe not entirely positive ones. That boom in 2022, 2023, it definitely led to market oversaturation.
Too many shows.
Way too many shows, often booked too close together. It led to burnout, both for fans and artists. The novelty of just being back in a live setting wore off, and people were left looking at their budgets again, maybe feeling a bit of festival fatigue, too.
Yeah, especially if festival lineups start feeling kind of repetitive year after year.
Right. It takes something truly unique or special to get people to commit, especially to multi-day, expensive events now.
Okay, so the middle is struggling. But the flip side of this polarization is that the absolute top tier, the superstars, they're not just surviving, they're thriving like never before. This is the blockbuster economy.
Completely. It's less like concerts, more like massive cultural events. Taylor Swift, Beyoncé, Bad Bunny, Coldplay. They are just smashing every record imaginable.
Do we have specific examples? Numbers?
Oh yeah, staggering numbers. For instance, the K-pop group Stray Kids, the recent Dominant tour, reportedly grossed an enormous $263.3 million from nearly 2 million tickets sold.
263 million? Wow.
And Beyoncé's Cowboy Carter tour. Sources put that gross at $407.6 million from about 1.6 million tickets. Just huge, unprecedented numbers.
And this kind of success, it really underscores that point about touring, alongside the catalog, being the real measure of an artist's value now, right? Much more than, say, first-week album sales.
Absolutely. That shift in perspective is vital to understanding the modern industry. We saw some hard data on Drake, who's arguably the biggest streaming artist ever.
Yeah.
Even for his huge album releases, those first-week sales figures, they only account for a tiny fraction, somewhere between 5.5% and 12.1% of his total catalog consumption over time.
So the buzz of release week is just noise on it.
Financially, compared to the long game, yeah. The real power, the lasting relevance, the serious money, it comes from the marathon performance of the catalog over years and the guaranteed income from a massive record-breaking tour, not the opening sprint of a single or an album.
Okay, so physical touring is essential, but polarized. What about digital alternatives? During the pandemic, virtual concerts were a necessity. Are they still relevant now that physical shows are back?
Very much so. They've really emerged as a legitimate competitor, or at least a significant alternative, to physically being there. It's not just a pandemic placeholder anymore.
How so? Are people actually engaging with these?
Yeah, platforms like Roblox and Fortnite are hosting massive virtual concert experiences. They're not just selling virtual merch, they're selling huge, communal, incredibly convenient events that reach millions who might not be able or willing to attend physically.
And do these virtual events actually translate into Anything tangible, like more streams?
Incredible results there. The data is compelling. Zara Larsson did a virtual concert on Roblox. It caused an immediate jump of 4.5 million weekly on-demand audio streams for her music.
4.5 million lift from one virtual show.
And get this, Ariana Grande's concert on Fortnite, it led to a lift of 52.6 million weekly on-demand streams for her catalog right after.
52 million. Okay, that's undeniable impact. It proved these digital events aren't just gimmicks. They drive real engagement and consumption.
Exactly. They fulfill a genuine need for connection and experience, especially for younger audiences who live natively in those digital spaces.
So if the middle of the physical live market is struggling and superstars and virtual events are booming, where is traditional in-person live music still genuinely thriving outside of those guaranteed stadium sellouts?
It thrives where you have intense, really dedicated, community-focused fandoms.
Like what?
K-pop is the prime example globally. Latin music is booming live artists like Karol G, Peso Pluma packing huge venues. EDM consistently draws massive crowds to its festivals and shows.
What ties those together?
Often it's the fan culture. The fans prioritize that collective shared experience. It's part of the identity of being a fan, maybe more so than just liking the music. The cost barrier is still there, but the drive to be a part of that community overcomes it more often.
And what about smaller scenes?
That's the other bright spot. Fans seem to be actively seeking out more curated, intimate experiences. Niche festivals that cater to specific tastes, local community-run DIY venues. People are maybe trading the massive scale of a generic festival for something that feels more intentional, more connected, more authentic.
Focus on community, on intentional experience?
Yeah.
That feels critical. Okay, let's pivot now to the final, and maybe the most fundamentally disruptive challenge facing the industry. AI, specifically AI voice cloning and the legal mess it's creating.
Yeah, this is a big one. The technology itself is advancing incredibly fast.
Explain the basics. How does voice cloning work?
Essentially, it uses sophisticated deep learning algorithms. These AI models are trained on huge amounts of recorded voice data, someone's actual voice. They learn to replicate all the tiny nuances, the pitch, the rhythm, the intonation, the timbre, everything that makes a voice unique.
So it can create new audio that sounds exactly like someone.
Scarily accurately in many cases. And that's the problem. This amazing tech achievement slams right into our existing ideas about art, identity, copyright.
And we've already seen some major controversies flare up because of this, right? Like FN Mega.
Ah, yes, FN Mika. That was an early, very visible flashpoint back in 2021.
Remind us what happened there.
FN Mika was marketed as this AI rapper, entirely AI voiced. Capitol Records actually signed FN Mika to a deal.
A major label signed an AI.
They did, but then dropped the project just 10 days later after huge backlash.
Why the backlash?
A couple of big ethical issues. One was accusations of cultural appropriation, sort of perpetuating stereotypes through the AI persona. But the other key point was the voice itself. It came out that the AI was trained on and essentially using the voice of a real human voice actor who wasn't credited and wasn't being compensated for this massive project.
Oof, okay. So it highlighted the human labor often hidden behind the AI curtain.
Exactly, and the difficulty of separating the creation from the source material it relies on.
And then the issue went mainstream viral with that track, Heart on My Sleeve, right? The fake Drake and the Weeknd song.
That was the moment it really exploded into public consciousness. The track, created by a TikTok user called Ghostwriter9777, used AI to perfectly clone Drake and the Weeknd's voices. It sounded incredibly real.
And it blew up.
Millions of views, millions of streams almost overnight, before Universal Music Group, their label, managed to get it taken down from streaming platforms.
And that takedown, it sparked a huge debate, didn't it?
Massive. It forced the entire industry, labels, publishers, artists, lawyers, platforms to confront the question, is this legal? Can platforms host this stuff? Can people monetize music made with cloned voices? The floodgates opened.
What's the core threat here? It feels like it goes beyond just making a fake song. It seems to threaten the value of human creativity itself.
That's the existential fear, yes. It comes down to efficiency and cost.
How so?
Think about it. A sophisticated AI tool could potentially generate a professional-sounding song, write the lyrics, compose the music, produce it, and perform it with a cloned famous voice in minutes.
Compared to human creation, which takes
weeks, months, years sometimes, and requires incredible skill, collaboration, and significant financial investment in studios, producers, musicians, the artist's time.
Right.
So if AI can do a good enough version almost instantly for virtually no cost, It could flood the market with cheap content, and that could fundamentally devalue the rarity, the effort, and ultimately the revenue potential of genuine human-created music. The whole value proposition could be warped.
And the legal system is playing catch-up. Especially in the U.S., it seems like the laws weren't built for this. What's the main legal loophole AI is slipping through?
The core problem is how copyright law defines what it protects.
Okay.
Current laws, particularly U.S. federal copyright law, are almost entirely focused on protecting fixed, tangible creative expressions.
Fixed intangible, like what?
Like lyrics written down on paper, a melody notated on a score, a finished sound recording captured on tape, or a digital file. Something concrete you can point to.
Got it.
But the one thing that truly defines a singer, their unique, recognizable voice, that's generally considered intangible. It's not fixed in a tangible medium in the way the law requires.
So my voice itself isn't protected by copyright.
Not directly under federal copyright law. No, that's the loophole. The AI is cloning the identity, the sound, the style, which isn't fixed, rather than directly copying a specific copyrighted recording or composition.
That's a massive vulnerability. The identity gets cloned, but the law doesn't see the voice itself as property in the same way it sees a song.
Exactly. And that's why you hear industry folks talking less about copyright infringement and more about likeness laws or the right of publicity.
Likeness laws. Why is that the angle?
Because the AI cloned content is derivative. It sounds like the artist, it uses their vocal identity, but it's usually a new performance of a new song. It's not a direct copy of their existing work. That makes proving traditional copyright infringement really, really difficult in court.
So we need new legal tools. Laws that specifically protect a person's vocal identity, their likeness, their talent, separate from the fixed recordings they've made.
That's the argument being made very strongly now. We need a modernized legal approach, something that can protect artists against having their identity essentially stolen and used fraudulently, whether it's for music, deepfakes, scams, whatever.
Has there been any movement internationally, like the EU's AI Act?
The EU AI Act does mandate transparency, requiring disclosure when AI is used, especially for training data. But critics argue it didn't go far enough specifically on generative AI for audio and video. It highlights that this isn't just a U.S. problem. It's a global legal challenge that needs urgent, specific attention and probably new legislation everywhere.
Wow. Okay, this whole deep dive, it's really been a journey through an industry in massive flux. Volatility, change on every level. Let's try to bring it all together, synthesize the big takeaways for listeners.
Let's do it. It's a lot to process.
Okay, first, how we listen. Streaming loyalty isn't just about price. It's about that quality of service experience, feeling good, feeling secure.
Right. And crucially, habit. Plus that weird paradox, being stressed for time actually makes you more loyal to a smooth, reliable service. Convenience and reliability are necessities now, not just perks.
Second takeaway, live music.
Yeah.
It's splitting dramatically.
Yeah. The middle market is getting squeezed hard by costs, burnout, saturation. But the megastars are in their own stratosphere, breaking records. Blockbuster economy.
Yet touring is still vital for artists. And certain genres with strong communities, K-pop, Latin, EDM, are powering global growth in live events, alongside a desire for smaller, niche experiences.
Third, the view from the top. The executive priority is crystal clear now.
Efficiency and catalog.
Laser focus. Major labels are cutting operational costs, consolidating leadership, and pouring that money into buying proven, long-term catalog assets. Forget first week sales as the main metric.
That's just vanity now.
Pretty much. Long-term catalog performance and touring revenue, that's the real measure of business health and artist value in the eyes of the majors.
And the final, maybe most unsettling takeaway?
Yeah.
AI.
Yeah. AI voice cloning is creating this profound legal and creative vacuum. It directly threatens the value of human work and artistic identity because our current laws, especially copyright, just weren't designed to protect something as intangible yet essential as a person's voice.
The rules of the game are changing faster than the rule book can be rewritten.
Exactly. Which means, for you listening, you need to constantly reevaluate traditional metrics and assumptions about the industry.
So what's the bottom line for listeners trying to make sense of all this? As you follow music news, as you consume music,
Yeah.
what should you keep in mind?
I think the key thing is understanding this fundamental shift in value. The industry focus is moving decisively away from the buzz, the risk, the investment required for new music and new artists, and towards maximizing the predictable, long-term, highly monetizable value of the existing catalog. You need to approach industry news with that critical lens. understand that the new is often being systematically deprioritized in favor of the proven.
Which brings us perfectly to our final provocative thought, something our sources really point towards.
Okay.
If, as we've established, catalog is now king.
Mm-hmm.
Catalog is the business for labels, for investors.
Right.
And AI technology is getting incredibly good at analyzing that catalog. The data, the sound, the style, and generating endless new derivative songs that sound just like the artist's catalog.
Where are you going with this?
Well, here's the central tension the industry has to grapple with. Does the very technology that could potentially enhance the value and reach of the catalog also eventually undermine the fundamental scarcity, the human authorship, the inherent value of the original catalog itself?
If AI can perfectly mimic the golden goose and lay infinite golden eggs.
Do the eggs, even the original ones, start to lose their shine, their value? That feels like the core question the music industry needs to answer in the years ahead.
That is an excellent and, yeah, pretty troubling thought to end on. A real paradox baked into the future.
Indeed. Well, thanks for guiding us through this incredibly complex and shifting landscape. It's been illuminating.
My pleasure. Always fascinating to track the beat of this industry.
Absolutely. We'll see you next time on A Deep Dive.